it meant anything goes. Anyone could die, anyone could fall in love, anyone could die, anyone could fall in love, anyone could die, anyone could die.
Age of Apocalypse.
Concept was so cool.
Age of Apocalypse.
Concept was so cool.
People couldn't believe it. They had to believe it. People couldn't believe it. They had to believe it.
Everything that you hit on the known level. Out the window. Everything that you hit on the known level. Out the window. Everything that you hit on the known level. Out the window.
I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, the podcast where we have gone into an alternate reality and come back with edgier versions of ourselves so that we can talk about the Age of Apocalypse. Long-haired Gary, how are you doing today?
Yes, I am long-haired Gary right now because of quarantine stuff.
Yeah.
I am looking like Scott Summers. I'm good. I'm going to go pluck one of my eyes out to get the full Age of Apocalypse Gary, steez.
So it's just straight up copying me, who had an eye taken out against my will, and thus was so cool for it.
Exactly.
I've earned my
and also I
coolness,
really want to use up
replicate
some emergency room time when I show up at the incredibly overcrowded hospital and I explain why I took my own eye out, just so I could make like you need a bed. Yeah, I took my eye out. Wait, you took your eye out? Why? Oh, well, see, it all started when Legion went back in time. And
be the first time that a nurse is like, you know what? I'm going to take you back to the waiting room now, and we're going to move you down on the queue, and you can just sit here for a while.
Yeah, we're going to give you a bag with some ice in it, and good luck on that eye.
When I was a kid, and stop me if I've told this story before, but when I was a kid, I decided to play a prank on my grandmother, and one of the little gumball machines at the grocery store, instead of a gumball, it popped out like a little plastic bouncy eye. So I did the most obvious thing that a fucking fifth grader could do is I poured ketchup all over my hand and put this bouncy eye in my thing. Sure. And I came to my grandmother pretending to cry. I was like, "Mama, my eye!" And she freaked the fuck out. And then as soon as she realized it was a prank, she yelled at me. It was like, "What are you doing? I am old. You should not do this to old people."
No. That was horrible of you. Everyone.
Oh yeah, 100% horrible.
Everyone did the right thing.
Yeah,
freaking out. If somebody did that to me now, I'd still freak out. I wouldn't I'm so scared about people hurting themselves around me. I think I've talked about this to you before, but something that is a really reliable, huge anxiety spike for me is going to the zoo and watching people let their kids get on their tiptoes and lean over in ensconcements and in cages and stuff. Shit drives me nuts. I get so tense because I'm like, oh, that person's going to fall. I'm going to watch a kid get eaten by a tiger today. This fucking sucks. All I want is John Wick. I do not want real violence ever.
Yeah. I want cartoonish violence. And speaking of cartoonish violence, today it's going to be kind of a weird episode. We're finishing the latter half of X-Men Alpha 1, and we're going to go through Generation Next number 1. So Alpha number 1 is 44 pages. It's double the length of a normal episode. Issue, whatever the fuck you call these things, Gary, vocabulary. So we decided to break it up. So we're going to pick up on page 28 with one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse.
Yeah, and getting kind of the interior. This is our first check-in on Apocalypse.
Yes.
Here, where the boys are coming together. Sinister's checking in on a character named Abyss, who was not a character before this, but eventually there is a mainline 616 version of him. I like Abyss in this comic, and he's cool looking, and he fights the X-Men a little bit later.
He's got kind of a blue mohawk thing happening. His outfit is mostly purple with some yellow kind of.
Look how not ripped he is. He's toned, dude. But he's not. Yeah. He's the last thin American. The entire world.
Going to one meeting every month.
Yeah, it's a. But Sinister shows up. He's like, "Are you amusing yourself?" And the way he's amusing himself is pulling up little holographic pictures of his friends.
It's dope. It's very dope.
I love it.
I would probably do this for people I know in real life. Yeah.
I'd Skype my friends. I'd Zoom call the other horsemen.
I would put an Arlo camera in their bedroom without their permission.
So he's the Scott Lobdell jokester archetype. So he's making a lot of Spider-Man quips.
Yeah.
You know? And they're both shut down. They're quipping by the unfortunately named character Holocaust showing up, who is Apocalypse's son and is a big jar of delicious looking Sunny D that walks like a man.
Dude, and with like a floating skull thing happening, like a floating red skull. Super dope. Looking very cool here.
Yeah.
Super ripped. So we're back on the super ripped timeline. And we are interrupted when Apocalypse shows up.
Yeah.
And we have a full page spread of Apocalypse, and this design is okay. Like it's abs on abs on abs.
He's very wide,
humongously wide. His hands, his weird 4-fingered hands are like enormous. But like I feel like it's a pretty basic as far as like stylings go. Like he's got a little outline of a G-string and some squares on his thighs, but otherwise it's just like here's some gloves. Like there's not a lot of interest to this character design.
Yeah. I like how wide his shoulders are in that he's essentially a Final Fantasy 1 character in that he's as wide as he is tall.
Yeah.
I think that him just being a little NES sprite is pretty funny. In the immediate next page, he looks less like that.
Yes.
You know, but he is the widest of these boys.
Mm-hmm. And also in the next page, Abyss looks kind of a lot more beefy than he did previously. So
it's true. And he's got more armor on. It's like he put on another shirt or something. It's weird. That is exactly what happened. He's wearing armor now.
Yeah.
And he has more hair.
And he's got a lot more hair. Man, this
what happened?
This comic book.
Yeah.
They don't tell you there was a quarantine between page 28 and 29.
But he's basically gathering his troops. And he's like saying like, now it is time for the final strike. Basically, you know, the humans to fight against the humans. Yeah. They signed this treaty because they're idiots. And it is time for us now to go destroy them.
Yeah. So we learned this earlier in the issue where like most of the humans have gone to the north part of North America and to Canada to get away from because Apocalypse runs America. And he's negotiating with the Human Council to basically have a ceasefire. And now it's revealed that Apocalypse, like all of this was just bullshit. He was just wasting their time and he's going to annihilate them all anyway.
Mm-hmm. Sinister pushes back, like saying, you know, hey, we don't actually want this genetic civil war. Like, this is going to claim people on both sides. You know, like, again, he doesn't want to rule over nothing. And Apocalypse is like, hey, again, stay loyal to the cause. How dare you question me? You know, no, I'm not questioning. And basically says it doesn't matter if everybody dies, the strong will survive, whether it's 4 or 4 billion. You know, it doesn't really matter. As long as it is the strongest survive, and they will form my army of tomorrow. Sinister is obviously not on board with this.
And specifically, like, it doesn't matter if 4 or 4 billion mutants to decide are alive at the end of this. Like, he doesn't.
Yes.
It's just about ruling over whatever is left. He does not care about mutants versus humans. He just chose humans first.
Well, they're weaker
because it was easy.
yeah. They're like he's interested in the strong, and the mutants are stronger than humans.
Yeah. Him and Holocaust start talking about their plans, and Sinister kind of fades out, and it's like, you know, he's got to start scheming on his own plan. He's got his own plans like that are laid down, and he's wondering how much he can take from Apocalypse, basically, like how much information he can steal.
Yep. And he's specifically been feeding information to 2 different agents we cut over to, and this is Wolverine and Jean Grey. Over in Europe, trying to find the Human High Council. And the guys who jumped them, these like Escape from New York
yes,
humans.
100% accurate. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Very funny.
Just a bunch of Kurt Russells out there.
Using their gene scanners. You know, and they show up and Wolverine says, take us to your leader. And we get Wolverine and Jean Grey in the Human High Council. Yes. Which takes place inside Big Ben, which has a big broken clock face. Like, kind of great.
Because of metaphors.
Yeah, exactly. And the Human High Council, there's actually 2 comics about this that we might do at the end. I think they're called Nation X or something like that, that deal with these characters and like what other people were doing during this. And this stuff is all kind of interesting to me, partly because it includes Emma Frost, who has had some kind of brain surgery.
Yeah, we can see like her part of her skull has been shaved, and she has like all of these scars.
Yeah, I guess it just happened.
Yeah.
Like she got up immediately from surgery.
Also, all of the humans are dressed in like this orange jumpsuit with purple like symbols on them. Like,
as you do.
Yeah. Okay, sure. Like, do I get these hand-me-downs, or do I get this tailor-made? Like, when I show up at Big Ben and knock on the door, like, am I going to have to wear somebody else's? Do I have to bring my own? Like, what's the situation? Where do you?
It's like a gym
them?
shirt. Yeah, you got to make your own. And then they have a contract through Cintas.
Yeah.
To wash them all. The leader of the Human Council is Moira McTaggart, and she is married to Bolivar Trask, and they're the people who invented the Sentinels. And in this world, the Sentinels are actually trying to fight back against Apocalypse. There is still some bigotry there. They hate mutants, but the reason it's much more justified.
Yeah,
now because there's actually a war.
They've got some data for Mr. Sinister, Wolverine, and Jean Do. They're handing it over to the Human Council to be verified, giving Wolverine and Jean Grey some time to be alone with their various makeup effects on their character creation faces. And notably, they're a couple. They start doing a little makeout sesh. There's a panel here where the handless Wolverine is like got his arm around Jean Grey, and his hair is just looks like it's coming from every single angle of his face. Like it's just like a starburst of fur going around. It's enormous and amazing.
He actually looks like that advisor character for the Shi'ar. That weird little goblin that she keeps around. Like she looks like the Shi'ar advisor goblin to me.
I'm with that. Yeah.
Yeah. But basically they're just, hey, are we doing the right thing? Can we trust Sinister? And he's like, no, of course not. And she's like, well, make sure, you don't leave me. Like you're my person. Never steal this world away. And he's like, I won't let anybody do that. So they're very, very in love. This comic and the Dr. X comic is going to deal with her, meeting Scott Summers and some kind of, shakeups in that respect.
Sure. We go back to Westchester where they're about to begin interrogating Bishop. Gambit is lurking in the background during this, and as soon as Rogue manages to touch Bishop, a counterforce happens, which Nightcrawler says he's never seen anything like it. And I'm like, thank you, Nightcrawler, for that extremely good science opinion. I appreciate that. Like, there's always one of these in the crowd, right? Yeah. Like, you take this dude to a football game and someone makes a fucking touchdown and he's like, I've never seen anything like that. Thanks,
I'm going to start saying that to anything I do that's new.
Right?
Like, every time I see a band I've never seen. I've never heard that song
like
before.
That. Yeah.
This is really dumb science-wise. What they're going to do is Magneto is going to use his magnetic field to buffer her contact with the stranger. So she like touches him less. And it sounds like she's like rules lawyering her superpowers.
Yeah.
In a way, like, I'm like, man, I don't think that's how this has been shown to work. But he gets this huge flash of the history that we know, of, Charles Xavier forming the X-Men, the Acolytes, Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, all that stuff in these little shards of crystal. Including like really dark stuff, Xavier blasting his mind open in Fatal Attractions, him being de-aged into a baby, which happened, all that stuff.
And as soon as he sees all of this, he goes back to Rogue and is like, look, you're going to think I'm crazy, but I saw you in this outfit. I'm going to need you to find like some torn clothing and some twigs. Yeah. We're going to get freaky tonight, girl.
This Hungry Like the Wolf Savage Land outfit where she's hanging on him. There's no G-string here. This is just a butt.
No, that's just a butt. That's just a little flappy flap. Yeah.
It's got a little like cloth hanging down, to cover the crack. But it's like a reverse plumber. Like only the butt crack, top of the butt crack is covered, but the main butt, the part with the meat is fully on display.
Yeah. I think I have this on a trading card, Gary.
I bet you do.
It's ridiculous. Gambit jumps in and is like, no, you all have to stop this. And they say that he moves so quickly, even Quicksilver is caught off guard. And I'm like, yeah, it's because Quicksilver was like not paying attention to what was happening at all.
Well, I mean, if you put yourself in Quicksilver's shoes, like getting to watch your stepmom have a real rough time, sometimes that's nice,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Stepmoms aren't great. So he runs up and she's like, what did this madman do to you? And Bishop's still super angry. Like, I showed him the truth. They're gonna fight here, and eventually Sabretooth grabs Gambit. They have a history, and Gambit's just real mad. Like, how can you risk Rogue like that? He just calls her Cher. How can you risk putting Cher at risk like that? And it's like, I'm right here and I have a name.
Yeah.
Like, you call everyone Cher. This doesn't help.
Also, just like colloquially, not how you would use share at all.
No, I don't think so. Just, well, there's a bunch of sharers there. But Quicksilver says like, no, Gambit didn't sneak in. Magneto summoned me.
Yes.
Yeah. Would you think Magneto could have told him how to find him and not just been like, you figure it out by talking to Angel?
Well, I guess like maybe like, because I think he says later, like I got word from the grapevine, like maybe that they're trying to keep things, they're kind of trying to keep their OPSEC up, Gary. They're trying to keep OPSEC going on.
I guess that's true. I didn't think about the OPSEC.
But Magneto says he needs Gambit's skills. And before we get to that, he sends Nightcrawler on a quest to go see his mother to find out more information based on the visions that he was given of the real timeline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's Mystique still, right? Like that as of right now, that's Mystique. Okay, that's what I thought.
Yes, that's still Mystique.
Okay.
And they're kind of getting a little bit of the backstory here on the triangle between Magneto, Gambit, and Rogue. Magneto promised they would keep Rogue safe. Gambit's like, you have to do that. Rogue is like, you don't have to go chase this psycho vision. And he's like, no, maybe I do. Like, Apocalypse should never have come into power. We have to make these choices. I'm not going to betray Charles's vision.
Yes.
So again, in him, wanting to let himself off the hook for his failure, but also, he is very loyal to Charles Xavier. Bringing Charles Xavier back to life through this is basically the best thing he could do.
Yeah. Also, kind of in casual conversation, they mentioned their son, which Gambit did not know about.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We cut really quickly to Apocalypse and Holocaust docking. They mentioned that Sinister is missing.
Yep.
So they have to go find him, starting that betrayal arc, which is going to be X-Man, as where Sinister shows up. And then we go back to the X-Men where Magneto is about to give a speech.
Yes.
To everybody. And
Rogue mentions that Peter and Kitty and the rest are out there.
Yep. We don't see this speech yet. That's going to be kind of the first issues of these things where he kind of gives everybody their mission. Here, but basically, he knows something's up, he knows something's wrong, and he's intending to fix it.
Yeah. Our last page of this comic is something coming from space.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what it is. It's vaguely crystals. I don't know. Fatefully and inexorably.
Nonsense.
There's a lot of adverbs. So like something coming from space toward Earth.
Yep. So, and that's it for this issue. This is going to be a rare 2 comics per issue episode though. Because we just had the end of that and we had the very slight Generation Next #1.
Yes.
Which for me, this was cool at the time because Generation X was one of the comics I was actually reading at the time. So it kind of, I wasn't reading all these comics at the time. I wasn't reading Cable, which turned into X-Man. I wasn't reading Wolverine solo, but I was reading Generation X, and it was the first X-Men comic I got in on the ground floor of. So it's always had kind of like a weird kind of special place in my heart.
Oh, interesting.
For that. Yeah. I have a soft spot for it. It's not great, but I've had a soft spot.
I will say that this is where the art completely falls down for me.
Yeah. It's time for a Days of Future Cast showdown.
I
put 30 seconds on the clock.
It's and like it's just dark. Like I think that's the main problem with it is like a lot of the panels, a lot of the action pages are just extremely dark and it's murky and it's hard to figure out what the fuck is happening. Not that any of it's bad. Like I kind of enjoy this. It's got a weird aggressive thing to it where everybody's trying to literally kill one another that I don't quite understand in this world. But yeah, so like I guess let's get into it. Like we can talk about the cover, which is shows all of our various folks. We got Magneto in the background. And behind him is Mondo. We've also got Kitty Pryde. We've got Paige Guthrie, aka Husk. We've got Chamber. We've got a Colossus that is just fucking ripped up.
He's big boy.
Boy. And in the corner we've got Know It All, and I've already forgotten the other guy's name. Vicente.
There's also, I want to draw attention to Bonus Turtle. That's under a Colossus.
I love Bonus Turtle with the candy cane. There's a lot of candy canes in this now that I'm looking at it. What's going on with the candy canes?
Yeah, I don't know what's up with Bonus Turtle and Candy Cane there, but I like Bonus Turtle at the very least.
That turtle looks pissed.
He's real mad, dude. He's the secret. He's the extra Generation Next. He's standing in for Skin. Oh no, Skin's there. Skin's in the shadow of Colossus.
Oh yeah. I see him.
So this is Chris Bacalo, who you may remember from the World arc of New X-Men. But this is him in the 90s, in which I think he has a lot more restraint. I actually agree with you that it's too dark during this. I don't think that's a great art direction choice, but I actually like his style and the way he does kind of figures in this. Like, it's nice that it looks not like Marvel House style.
Yeah, I will give you that. It does not look like the stuff that they normally put out.
And when he does like still action scenes, and like sometimes they're very good. So like this opening panel where you have Chamber, like I think this is great. Like this is a cool action pose. I can see exactly what he's doing. It looks cool and dramatic. Like I think Chris Bacalo is a good artist who gets away from himself a lot.
Sure. This introduces us to Jonathan with three O's, which is a choice.
Jonathan.
Jonathan Starsmore, aka Chamber, who shoots energy blasts from his chest, essentially.
Yes. And pretty different from the normal version of it. Chamber in the this is one of the changes I think that makes a lot of sense here. Because in the normal version of Chamber, he is this very brooding, dark, Johnny Depp, Edward Scissorhands type character, because he has this huge hole in his chest and he just has this like big pile of energy where his chest would be. I've always liked that design a lot. And I like this character because the time I came to him. Here, something happened. I can't remember if they explain it later, but he has this control over it. He didn't lose half his face. And he's much more goofy. Like in the actual arc, when I was reading Generation X, like he does get more kind of open and cheerful as it goes on, as people kind of like get through to him. And here it's like, well, yeah, he just had a lot of trauma from losing half his face. What if he didn't? Maybe he'd be an all right guy. So.
Which is interesting. Like, I think that's an interesting take on this character. And he is definitely much more comedically kind of focused. Like, he's got a lot of quips. Right here, he's like, I can sum up my powers in one word: power, psionic power. Okay, 2 words. I meant 2 words.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing.
Real Scott Lobdell Spider-Man whipping.
Sure. Yeah. And he's in a fight with, I believe this is Paige, or Paige is going to be here pretty quickly. And they are literally trying to kill one another to train themselves to be better X-Men, as they are led by Kitty and Colossus, is what we're going to learn over the course of this issue.
Yeah, that's the idea of this dark future, is that Generation X, which was a fairly lighthearted comic with Banshee and Emma Frost, is actually under this, this damaged version of Colossus and Kitty are way, way too harsh and kind of fascistic. And if I recall right, like, the end's real bad. Like Colossus is kind of a villain in the end of this, if I remember right. Just driven by love for his sister and love for Kitty, and is not a real good guy in this universe. They do the thing, so they're being distracted by these monitors around. That's this AI thing called Know It All, who does it's called a distraction thing for the second time in this session. So he gets distracted by Paige Guthrie, who jumps on him. She is a flirt. She's trying to kiss him. He knocks her away, and they're kind of going back and forth. This version of Paige is extremely confident. And again, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because Paige was not super confident because she had these gross powers where she, was a mutant and she tore off her skin. And now that she can kind of turn into everything, she's got more control over it, and she is more confident. Like, I think that the fascistic angle of this is not perfect. I think it's a weird thing for Kitty Pryde specifically, just to turn into a psychopath. But the idea that these kids having this confidence and having more control over their power actually changes their personality from their original version is actually pretty good.
Yeah. I dig it. Like, I like this a lot. Like, especially Paige being kind of playful and like, you may call me self-absorbed, but I'm the sexiest, most self-absorbed woman you've met, right? Like, that kind of thing is, and it strikes a good tone too. Like, I don't think that it's like over the top, is like, like the rest, like, it is over the top, don't get me wrong, but like the flirtation is relatively low key throughout, and it's played off as cute, and I kind of dig it. Yeah, it's
like 6 points over the top instead of 10 points over the top.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is interrupted when Mondo comes out of the ground and grabs both of them, and he screams at them that he is sick of risking his life while those two suck face, which is very funny to me.
Yep. So Mondo, again, was always going to be a member of Generation X and didn't really show up until very late in the actual comic. In this version, he's here, and he talks like the Hulk for some reason. I think in the original version, he's just a Samoan guy.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah, I don't know why they made him talk like the Hulk.
What's that line from Pulp Fiction? I don't know. I would call him to say he has a speech impediment. Then dude's Samoan.
So they blast him. He hates psionic energy. Paige starts tearing off her hand to create a blade to hold it up to his throat. And they hear an egg timer, and this training, this version of the danger room pops up where they have to survive for 3 minutes, and then the teachers join to kind of put him in sudden death.
Yes.
And gigantic Colossus shows up and crushes Mondo.
Colossus just looking wild, Gary. Like I don't even know where to begin with this dude. He's
big.
He's so big. Like his muscles have so many more muscles, and looks like his knuckles have muscles on them. Like how do you even do that?
Gotta work them shits out, dude.
I guess so. I've not been working my knuckles, dog.
my knuckles.
And yeah, they say that I guess his brother is Holocaust.
Or no, is Mikhail.
Is Mikhail. Okay.
Yeah. So which is true in the real Marvel universe as well, but he's a weird villain who doesn't show up very often. Yeah. So the idea is they were Russia's greatest heroes together, but one of them joined Magneto, one of them joined Apocalypse.
Yeah. And he begins, and I as someone who hasn't read this in a very, very long time, I was like, well, all of this killing talk is probably not real, right? Like this is a danger room exercise or whatever. But no, he is like, I am going to kill you, and because you left all of these people alive, you are if you didn't kill them, you deserve to be killed because otherwise you're going to be weak and you're going to be sentimental and you're going to get yourself killed in this.
Yeah, this is an extremely damaged Colossus.
Yes,
and Chamber still has a good attitude about it and stuff, but he's saying basically I generally like this whole thing except for the teachers are psychopaths and they're trying to kill us. This is very Murder Dome audition style kind of danger room stuff. He tries to play it off hey, this was actually a clever ruse so we could team up against you. He's like, no, you're weak and sentimental. You just didn't want to hurt your friends, your dreamers. And at this point, Paige Guthrie has turned her hands into acid and pours it all over Colossus's head.
Yes.
So again, showing greater control. That wasn't something Husk could really do.
Yeah. And I love this line about nothing more disgusting than the whiff of burning techno-organic metal because metal burning by itself smells bad. So techno-organic metal has to be even worse.
Yeah. And add Russian into it. Fuck, dude.
Oof.
The
Russian American. He got his citizenship. Leave it alone. Gary.
Yeah, do you think they're still doing green cards? if they suspend them for no reason now?
Yeah, Apocalypse is definitely
Apocalypse
not keeping them.
Yeah, So so they're fighting him and they think that's going to be it, but coming out from his back, who's been riding inside him, which is fucking weird, is Kitty Pryde. Who knocks Paige off and is a fucking psychopath. There's a nice little nod, she has Wolverine claws attached to her wrist, because she was still presumably trained by Wolverine in this world, and she's out for fucking blood.
And she is slashing her ass off, and just cutting Paige to pieces, and you can see that Paige is visibly cut. And she starts to run away, and it's kind of a feint so that she can scrape more of her body off and use it as a knife, which she promptly jabs into Kitty's stomach. But of course, Kitty is intangible and just immediately kicks her in the face.
Mm-hmm. And you think that this is going to be it. And Colossus notices, he's like, oh, something's happening to Kitty, because he's not the pure, objective character he makes out to be. At this point, Chamber drops a tree on him since he gets away. And he looks over and Kitty Pryde is about to take it too far. Is about to stab Paige in the head, basically saying we're going to sacrifice the students and then everyone else is going to be, in line. Real fucking harsh, Caesar's Legion type shit.
This when after Kitty's given her speech, Paige says, "Yar all heart," and I know this is supposed to be some accent,
Yeah, but it sounds like Banshee. Jarl heart.
Jarl heart. I just don't know. I've never seen YA''RE before in my life. And I'm very weirded out about it.
Y'all is or something like that.
Yeah.
So she's about to kill her, but she gets stopped there. by Skin, who now has real creepy powers as well. Instead of just being a guy with a whole bunch of loose skin, he's got all these weird, crazy, distended, like venom tentacles almost.
Yeah. And they share a lot of like Spanish goofs back and forth, which is very funny. And then Paige like kind of comes out of nowhere, and even though Skin just saved her and helped her, kind of betrays him so that she can win, essentially.
Yeah, and blast them both with something. I don't know exactly what she's doing.
Yeah, it's a biopattern Shadowcat can't phase through, so presumably it's some sort of weird acid thing, I guess. Who cares? Like,
yeah. So this hurt. We hear Shadowcat scream, and Colossus loses his mind.
Yeah.
Just smashes Chamber out of the way. Know-It-All, which is their AI companion, is trying to tell everyone time. And Chamber kind of explains, he's like, hey, another session, we're all still alive. Like, the idea is they try to kill each other, and ideally, I think, they would not be able to. Like, they would try to for 5 minutes and not be able to. But Colossus has, lost it. He's going to go kill Paige for this. But then Vicente pops up, who I don't think has a regular Marvel Universe correspondent, and he is a guy made of gas who has starts choking Colossus. Like, tensions are high in this team. Yeah. Things are bad.
And what a perfect time for Magneto to show up and put a stop to all of it. And Chamber, who has been kind of narrating everything that's happening, says, some of the kids haven't even seen him yet because he's so high up. And so if Magneto is showing up to where the training is, somebody somewhere is in trouble. Like, there's a problem, and they don't know what it is yet.
Yep. Magneto takes them to the castle they live in, and explains to them basically like, hey, I gave you instructions. You're supposed to assemble these students and prepare them. And instead I find them, and here's like, they're being prepared. This is what you said. Don't undermine my authority here. Like, I am preparing them. I'm just doing it my way. Again, this is a bad Colossus. Mm-hmm. And he basically clues them in on Bishop. He says, this is the wrong world. World is fractured 20 years ago. Charles died. He shouldn't have. Nightcrawler and Gambit are finding the resources I can use to verify it. But I need you to give me the tools. Like, if it turns out he's correct and we need to fix it, I need a time traveling mutant.
Yes. Or as they call them, chrono variant mutants, or CVs, which I think is very funny.
Resume.
Yeah, I wonder how this played in across the pond, right?
Yeah.
And this AI Know-It-All starts doing a scan for all of the CVs, and like, they just basically start going through all of them, and most of them are dead or otherwise occupied or missing in action. But it turns out Peter thought his sister Ileana had been killed in the Kiev slaughter, but she was actually alive.
Yep, she was left alive because she was too young, that they did not think that she had a chance of gaining a mutant ability. But now it turns out she does. We got a Boshemoy and a Niet. We get all the Colossus Russian.
I love it.
Terms, and that is setting up the what this mission is, which is this team going into this that world that this, like, basically where they have all the child miners from Temple of Doom.
Yes.
To try to rescue Ileana Rasputin.
Yep. With the likelihood of which is 0.000%. So it's got to be.
It is a suicide mission. Yeah. And that's their setup. All of these comics have individual little, like, missions that contribute to the greater whole.
And I think it's going to be interesting as we do this podcast. Like, we're going through a bunch of number ones, and then we're going to go through, like, and kind of follow everything up. It's going to be a weird podcast progression, I think, but it's going to be fun to read through all of this stuff because it's exactly how I would have been reading it as a kid. Like, I would be gobbling every single issue up as they came out.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really, really fun to talk about each individual thing and kind of watch these story arcs and things. So I'm excited. I'm into it.
Me too. It's been the appropriate amount of time since I've read it, which is a really cool thing. Like, I don't remember a lot of the details outside of the main thrust. I know what these missions are. I do not remember the details. I did not remember Nightcrawler teleporting off Deadpool's head. So I'm excited about all that shit. And it's just kind of fun. Like, I think in this comic, at least initially, like, it's real fun to find the really good, the good versions of the characters that make sense with how they've changed. Like, this is Colossus in around this time in the main universe. Colossus was also going through a huge crisis of faith. He did lose Ilyana to the legacy virus, and it did cause him to lose hope and eventually kill himself to cure the legacy virus. He also joined Magneto for a while as an acolyte, during this time. So this is in line with Colossus's character, like the idea of him not having anything to hold on to, him becoming incredibly dark. Makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
and it's, again, it's just always going back to like Charles Xavier it dies 20 years too early, and how much the world has changed. Like it's insane. It's kind of crazy. It's fun so far. I'm having a good time with it. So, thank you everybody for listening. We'll be back in a couple of more days for, I've already forgotten what the next issue is. You can go to daysoffuturecast.com/schedule for that. Go check out that. We really appreciate it. You can also go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv if you want to donate us a couple of dollars. That money goes to extremely good causes like our pockets, and also some charity depending on what you buy.
Yeah.
And you can also leave reviews on iTunes and various other services. We appreciate all of that.
All appreciated. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.
See you later, everybody.